Hi, I'm Hatim Kheir with the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms, and this is the update for Day 13 of the Public Order Emergency Commission public hearings. So today, the Commission continued to hear from former Chief Slowly of the OPS, that is the Ottawa Police Service, and today he was cross-examined by the various parties. Now I'm going to give some highlights from his testimony, and then I'll give a bit of my opinion on the significance of it. I just begin with the caveat that the things I highlight are the things that I find to be the most relevant. It was 7 hours of testimony, so there was plenty to talk about. But some of the big things that stood out was a common theme in his cross-examination by the various parties was just what intelligence the Ontario Police Service had with respect to what was coming into the city and what they knew. So there's discussion of something called the Hendon Reports, which was intelligence reports prepared by the Ontario Provincial Police, which senior members of the Ottawa Police Service were receiving. It was put to former Chief Slowly that those reports included warnings that the protesters that were going to arrive in Ottawa didn't have an exit strategy and that they intended to stay until the mandates were dropped, both of which suggest that this would be a very long-term event. In response to that, former Chief Slowly maintained that those were just pieces of a broader array of intelligence that he was receiving, and that the overall picture that he understood was that this was going to be a large event for the weekend only, and that there would be a small group remaining afterwards, just like in previous events. So he was surprised by just how many people stayed back and the size of the footprint of the protest that remained. Another contention that came up as he was being cross-examined by the different police parties was to the extent to which he interfered with operational decisions. So over the various witnesses, we've heard about a distinction between strategic level decisions, operational level decisions, and tactical level decisions. And one of the criticisms that other police witnesses have levied against former Chief Slowly is that he was interfering with some of the operational level decisions. And so he was cross-examined, for example, on the extent to which he was getting in the way of the liaison teams. So these are basically the police negotiators, the people who are responsible for reaching out and talking to the protesters. And in response, former Chief Slowly maintained that he did not interfere with them and that he supported those efforts. In his testimony, he also maintained that, and some of this is coming out of his testimony in chief on Friday, but he described that he was not consulted on the Emergencies Act. That it was something that only came to his attention the weekend before it was implemented. Though he described that he didn't need legislative powers so much as resources, and the two kinds of resources he described needing are police officers, like actual police officers to assist in the operations, and tow trucks, specifically with the capability of towing heavy trucks. And under cross-examination by my colleague, Rob Kittredge, he explained that he himself was not involved with the tow truck procurement, and so his descriptions about the need for tow trucks is just his general understanding, but it wasn't something that he himself was directly involved with, and so he didn't have knowledge about exactly what was obtained before the Emergencies Act was invoked. Then my colleague put to him the test for the CSIS Act. I'm going to just kind of take a break from describing his testimony to explain a bit of the legal context here. But the Emergencies Act requires the kind of emergency that was declared as a public order emergency, And so that requires that there be an emergency that arises from threats to the security of Canada. Threats to the security of Canada are defined as having the same meaning in the CSIS Act. And the CSIS Act lists 4 things that could be threats to the security of Canada. And so my coworker, Rob Kittredge, went through those 4 things and put them to former Chief Slowly. So he agreed that there was he received no intelligence that there was espionage or sabotage against Canada or detrimental to the interests of Canada. And he also agreed that there was no activities directed towards undermining by covert unlawful acts that are intended to lead to the destruction or overthrow by violence of the constitutionally established system of government in Canada. The other 2 points are questions about whether or not there was foreign influenced activities relating to Canada that are detrimental to the interests of Canada. He did answer that he'd received some information, but upon further questioning, he clarified that he had basically heard from the director for CSIS that there were donations coming from the United States and potentially some people who were going to come north across the border. He also answered when asked if there was activities within or relating to Canada directed toward or in support of the threat or use of acts of serious violence against persons of property for the purpose of achieving a political, religious, or ideological objective. He answered that basically he had heard that there were social media posts, and he confirmed upon further questioning that those posts had not, a social media post on its own is not a credible source of intelligence. It has to be corroborated, and none of that happened. So now to take a step away from describing the facts, in my opinion about what we've heard from Chief Slowly, there's a lot of back and forth between the parties, between the lawyers for the Ottawa Police Service or the Ontario Provincial Police, trying to understand exactly what happened, and there's kind of fingers being pointed. So there was a lot of that. But with respect to the Emergencies Act itself, the former chief actually didn't have too much to say. It was invoked on the 14th, and he resigned on the 15th. So he declined to comment about how it was used. And so he even said himself that he wasn't looking for additional legislative powers. It really came to getting police officers and tow trucks, which we've heard a lot about over the inquiry, but he wasn't able to speak too much to exactly how much that was the Emergencies Act would have helped him with that. And in fact, in saying that he doesn't know about how the tow trucks were obtained, he's in a sense kind of deferring to the testimony of other people who might be more involved with that decision. So that actually, with the chief's testimony, that's the end of the evidence that we're going to hear from the Ottawa Police. And so far, we've heard no one say that the Emergencies Act was necessary. In fact, several witnesses have reiterated that it was useful, but it was not necessary. And so with that done, for the remainder of this week, we're going to be hearing from protesters who were involved with organizing or had an influential position within the convoy protest. With that said, I will leave it until my update tomorrow. Thanks.